Welcome to the podcast. Here we will try covering daily news, but to start, let's recap what happened in 2025. So first, let's start with the elephant in the server room, and that's GPT-5. After months of rumors and agonizing wait, OpenAI finally dropped GPT-5 in August. It's multimodal native, has reasoning capabilities that are a significant step up from GPT-4. And yeah, the context window is practically infinite. But for us engineers, the real story wasn't just the raw intelligence; it was also the API pricing and the new structured output features that actually make it reliable for production code. So it's basically a new line that people are building against. Um, Next story was Redis that returns to open source. And this is a massive reversal that shocked the open source world. Redis is officially open source again, after the licensing drama that defined 2024 and spawned forks like Valky, the leadership is back in the mix. You can see here, and they decided to revert to the original BSD license. And it's a huge win for the community, and it's a rare case of a company walking back a restrictive licensing change. It seems that they realized that the community was the value proposition all along. Um, Next one is Cloudflare. November 18th, if you were on call, if you remember, Cloudflare had global outage that took down significant chunk of the web. And it wasn't just a blip. We're talking about cascading failures in their backbone that exposed how centralized our internet infrastructure has become. For about 4 hours, it's always DNS stopped being a joke and became a diagnosis. And the postmortem here is a must read for anyone in SRE or DevOps, and it's a masterclass in how and why graceful degradation is hard. And really, if you read the comments, it is the discussions center around how hard it is actually to build a decentralized system. And we'll come back to that in a second. Uh, Speaking of the infrastructure nightmares, um, here in October, a fire in South Korean data center didn't just take services offline; it physically destroyed the storage systems for the government's cloud. And the kicker is there were no offsite backups for a lot of that data, and it's gone forever. This is the ultimate horror story for every sysadmin. If you need budget approval for that immutable offsite backup solution, just show your boss that headline. Um, let's switch something that makes our lives actually better. If you work in Python, you know the pain of packaging. We have pip and poetry, VM, Conda, and it's a little bit of a mess. So now enter UV. It's written in Rust. It's blazingly fast. It talking about instant dependency resolution. And it swept through the community this year like wildfire. It replaces almost your entire toolchain and just works by itself. This might be the year we finally stopped complaining about requirements.txt. Um, let's talk about acquisitions a little bit. So here the Anthropic buys Bun. Um, it confused everybody for 5 minutes and then made total sense. Anthropic bought Bun, the ultra-fast JavaScript runtime. And why? Because they're building an AI native code execution environment. Bun's speed and Null1 toolkit make it the perfect sandbox for agents to run code safely and quickly. And it's a massive signal for that the future of LLMs isn't just generating text; it's also executing logic. And if you're interested in more, you can take a look at how, for example, Cloudflare JavaScript runtime is evolving, and also how sandboxed agents work in the Cloud CLI, for example. Um, On the topic of JavaScript, Microsoft dropped a bombshell for the front-end devs back in March, and this is a native port of TypeScript compiler. For years, we have accepted that type checking large projects takes time because the compiler itself runs in Node. And this new native port written in Go offers a 10x performance boost. For monorepos with millions of lines of code, this changes CI/CD pipeline from go get coffee to don't blink. Um, And this is interesting, why specifically Go was chosen. You can zoom into comments a little bit. and has to do with where different compilers are available, actually, because TypeScript needs to run on many machines. Switching to Chrome a little bit, it finally happened. So Chrome completed transition to version 3 of manifests, and uBlock Origin was removed from Chrome Web Store. The new API limits for dynamic filtering capabilities that made uBlock so powerful are now not available. And this sparked the biggest browser migration we've seen in years, with Firefox and Brave seeing record downloads from developers who refuse to surf the web without proper protection. And staying on the subject of Google, Android took a sharp turn away from its open roots in August. A new policy change means that by default, only apps from verified developers can be installed. While you can technically toggle this off deep in the settings in Android, it effectively kills the casual side-loading market and makes distributing open source apps outside of the Play Store significantly harder. The Android device versus iOS freedom debate just got a lot more complicated. Um, Talking about user interface. In a rare victory of user experience over looking futuristic, Volkswagen admitted that they got it wrong. They're bringing back physical buttons um, for essential car functions. No more digging through, free touch screen menus just to turn on the AC while driving 60 miles an hour. It's a massive validation for everyone who argued that tactile feedback isn't just nostalgia and it's a critical safety feature. Um, More on the subject of hardware, SpaceX isn't the only game in town anymore. Honda, yeah, the car company, has successfully launched and landed reusable rocket. This isn't just a rebrand. Honda has been quietly working on airspace tech for years. Their approach to guidance and lightweight materials from their automotive division is actually translating to rocketry. It's fascinating to see legacy manufacturer apply mass production engineering principles to now spaceflight. Um, More on topic of hardware. This was one of the top upvoted stories on Hacker News. So in the Maker News, we saw this impressive build um, this year. A developer built fully functional open source laptop from scratch. It's not like a Raspberry Pi with 3D printed case. They built custom PCB, power management circuits, and custom chassis. This is a beautiful reminder that despite how sealed shut our modern devices are, the knowledge to build them is still out there if you're willing to learn CAD software and soldering. Um, More hardware news. The Hero of the Year award might go to these two guys in Michigan. They hated their local internet monopoly so much that they used their construction knowledge to run their own fiber. They became registered ISP, trenched the cables, and are now serving their neighborhood with gigabit speeds for a fraction of the cost. It's an ultimate fine, I do it myself moment of infrastructure engineering. Um, More hardware news. So this is grim but technically important story. White hacker managed to extract crash data from Tesla MCU that the company claimed didn't exist. This data became key evidence in a wrongful death lawsuit. It highlights the critical role of independent security researchers and digital forensics in an era where our cars are basically black boxes on wheels. It also raises huge questions about data ownership. Is it your data or manufacturer's data? And by the way, not just Tesla. A lot of companies do black boxes and then don't allow you to read them. Um, Next is a data breach. So February saw the start of slow motion train wreck of our government security. Massive breach, likely exploiting a vulnerability in a legacy vendor system. It began leaking personnel records. Unlike some previous attacks before, it seems to be targeting a supply chain. So contractors and software providers that plug into the network. It's a stark reminder that your security is only as strong as your least secure vendor. Um, More security news. So, if you thought that prompt injection was just a theoretical attack, McDonald's proved you wrong. Their AI hiring bot was tricked into revealing applicant data simply by people guessing weak credentials and confusing the LLM. It's a funny headline, but for engineers, it's a serious warning that deploying LLMs in public facing roles without robust sanitization and traditional off layers is a recipe for disaster. In more security news, this is a story that flew under the radar for general public but terrified the security industry. The DHS failed to renew the contract for a CVE program, and this is the standard for tracking security vulnerabilities. It's a database that connects all of the different aspects of our security systems for developing software and hardware. So for the few weeks, the entire system we used to identify and patch bugs was in limbo financially. It exposed the fragility of the administrative layer that underpins global cybersecurity. So we're still waiting to see what the long-term replacement looks like and who actually steps in. Um, Switching to a little bit open source, and you see how this took a little long to load. Um, So Valve did something unprecedented in February. They released a massive chunk of the source code for Team Fortress 2, TF2. So for game devs, it's like Dead Sea Scrolls. If you look, you can look into the architecture of one of the longest running live service games in history. So this commit has comments in the code that are worth a read. So decades of hacks, fixes, and don't touch this warnings. Very good educational resource. It is not a complete source code of Team Fortress because it doesn't actually include the Steam engine itself, the source engine. Sorry, and but still, there's a lot to see here. Um, Finally, while OpenAI and Anthropic were battling in the closed source for the closed source crown, DeepSeek dropped their R1. So this is open weights model, kind of open source, but not completely, and shocked everyone with its reasoning capabilities, punching way above its weight class. And being free. So it proved that you don't need a $1 trillion cluster to innovate in model architecture. For open source AI community, R1 was a tool that kept local LLMs competitive into 2025. And this also caused a massive stock change for some vendors. Um, Finally, um, to close out the year, let's look up. So this is a massive 1.5 terabyte dump of James Webb Telescope data that was uploaded to the internet. This isn't just pictures, pretty pictures. It's raw spectral data covering nearly 800,000 galaxies. It's the largest single window into universe we have ever had, and now it's searchable. If you're a data scientist looking for a weekend project, go find a new galaxy. And so, happy New Year, everybody! And I will see you with daily news next week. Bye.